Say it with me, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Hey guys, it's John with Cheap Old Cars and Culture. Today's episode, we are going to be fixing this thing back here. Let me turn this way so you can actually see it. We're going to be fixing this thing back here. So let me get out of the way of the camera and show you a little bit of what needs to be fixed. I'll also keep talking to you. This thing's low in the front. It's not as low in the back as you can see. This corner right here, though, is actually the same height as my Blue Bullet out here on its H&R Super Sports. The other side of the front is actually a half-inch higher than this side. And I will show you that. I've got my measurements up here, and then I've got the measurements in the house on another sheet of paper for when it was stock height. And I will add, when I find that, I think I know where it is, but when I find it, I'll add those to this. And so we can make some comparisons. So why are we changing springs? These are the SR Touring springs from American Muscle. They're way too soft for any of these cars, in my opinion. The front spring rates are like 460, which is barely stiffer than a GT, and yet it sits that low, right? That's entirely too low for a spring that soft. This thing is just, it's not good. If you're going to be this low, you got to have a stiffer spring rate. The rears, though, they're advertised as 280. But their sport springs, they advertise the rear spring rate as 250. I don't understand why it's 280 in the rear and 460 in the front, whereas like a stock Bullet, which that's not stock, but a Bullet is 600 front, 250 rear. I really don't understand what they were doing with that spring rate, but the front's way too soft. It's too low. It's not too low. It's too low to be that soft, if that makes any sense. So it needs to be, well, one, a little higher for a few reasons. We want this car to be no compromises. Let me turn around so you guys can see it. You're not looking at the stuff behind me, which was brooms. Anyway, we want this thing to be no compromises, right? And what that means is it's a good backup car where you can use it for anything and everything. It's not too low that we're scraping and doing other weird stuff. The only reason I put these springs on it, one, I got them open box for like $70 and put them on the Blue Bullet. They were way too soft for the Blue Bullet. So I stuck them on this thinking, hey, that might be a little better. They're still too soft for that. They're sport springs, the SR sport springs, if they are what they advertise to be. I think that's a good V6 spring. I wouldn't put them on a V8 car, though. My personal opinion, you do what you want. So I've got some different springs for this. Let's take a look at them. They're not all in yet. There's a bit of a problem. I've just got the rear ones in, but the front ones should be in later today. Here we go, guys. And I've put them in a short and some different videos. These springs right here are factory Mach 1 rear springs, which are 250-pound springs, and they're a half-inch lower than a GT on a Mach 1. A Mach 1's heavier, so we might not sit quite that low. I might end up having to cut a little bit off these. I am typically not a fan. There's a wasp flying around right up above me. So if I start running in this video, I'll leave it in because it's funny, but that's not a wasp. That's actually a yellow jacket. And they are ridiculously territorial. Anywho, I'm not a fan of cutting springs at all. When you cut a spring, it does change the amount of, he just flew over my head. It does change the amount of free coils, and that does increase the spring rate. Definitely not a fan of cutting springs. I'm backlit. You guys probably can't see my face that well. So yeah, I'm not a fan of cutting springs. It's not something I want to do. Goodness, that's bright. Anyway, you go from the dark to out in the sun, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, my eyes weren't ready. So I've got the Mach 1 rear springs for the back of that, and then for the front, they should be in later today, like I said. I have 99 Cobra springs. They're 500-pound springs. I did a different video. It's like called, I think it's called Picking Springs When You're Picky, where I break down the weight differences and weight distributions of like a V6 versus like a Bullet that's out here, and how I think that I'm essentially going to make this V6 ride and handle more similarly to like a stock Bullet, which is what I want. Now, again, I might have to cut the springs a bit to get the perfect ride height. I'm not a fan of that, but so there doesn't exist on the market the spring rates I want with the ride height I want. The Ford F springs were pretty much what I would be after, almost perfect, a little bit lower in the front than I'm after, but pretty close. But they don't make those anymore, and I can't find them anywhere. So we're going Mach 1 rear springs, 99 Cobra front springs. Front springs should be in later today. And this is going to be a little bit of a how-to, not the full whole thing of it. I'm going to cut stuff out. It's going to be a little quicker, you know, but you'll get to see how to change springs on one of these cars. It's super easy. I can do this with no cameras, without filming and stuff. I can knock this out in 2.5 hours. A buddy of mine gave me this, which I'm very appreciative of. And here are these SR shocks. The rear wasn't honestly too bad. I'm still going to change them out, but one thing I'm going to point out here, actually two things. That guy right there is a sway bar. V6 cars don't have sway bars, okay? I've added that. I think it's from a 96 Cobra. Also, a GT, Mach 1, Bullet, whatever, the straight axle V8 cars are going to have a bracket right up here and a quad shock that runs to, or, you know, another little shock that runs to a bracket here on the axle. To remove the springs, you don't have to take it off up here, but you do have to take it off down here. So we're only going to remove a few things. We're going to remove the bottom shock bolt, and then if you had the quad shock, you'd remove that too. What I'm going to do is going to put a little strain on the brake hoses, but not that much. Mainly because they're already aftermarket springs, so I don't have to bring the rear end down a ton to get them out. If you have factory springs, it can be a little tougher, but there's a trick you can use. There's a fun tool you can use. I'll show you real quick. This guy, right? This is a tire tool for like removing a tire from a wheel. You can get them at almost anywhere that sells lawnmower stuff, yeah? Okay. What you can do is you can pop the spring. You can get up under the spring, pop it off. We might end up using this on the front, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it out. You don't need to be afraid of them too much. Yeah, this tool can really help. Okay, since I don't have the quad shock to remove, we're just going for the bottom shock bolt here. And I'm having to work around the camera just a little bit, so, you know, bear with me. Pop that out, and then that's loose. It was already basically extended all the way down, so that's fine. Set that over by my jack. And now I'm going to lower the rear end a little bit more. Keeping an eye on my brake hoses. Okay, now the jack is coming away from the rear end a little bit. I'm going to give it an inch or so underneath the rear end. And then we're going to see if we can remove a spring. I'm going to push down a little bit and, yep, just like that. Just like that. Very good. And we still have our isolator, which I'm going to put on the other spring that goes back in. And yeah, that was that. So how I do this, a lot of times I'll put my arm here on top of the brake and press down on the axle enough to get it out. With the factory length springs, that is tougher, but it's doable. Just don't be a wuss. We're going to tape the isolators to the springs so they stay on. And yeah, we might go ahead and put the new springs back in. This job's actually almost done. Kind of crazy, isn't it? Here are the Mach 1 rear springs. They have some weird isolators and zip tie stuff happening here, so we're going to get rid of that real quick. I have some aftermarket isolators, which we're going to put on both springs. These are from Maximum Motorsports. Some electrical tape, because I mean, I don't need, oh, that was weird. I don't need anything like crazy. I just need it to kind of stay in place a little bit-ish. take these guys back out there and take you guys back out there. Okay, I'm going to try to go for kind of that same camera angle we were at earlier, where you can kind of see both sides. Yeah, you can see both sides from right there. Let's brighten up under the car some, and let's put some springs on. Now, I'll show you guys in a second, but the pigtail at the bottom of these springs has to be oriented a certain way. And also, these are going to be a little tougher to get back in than the other ones, or to get out, because they are a taller spring. Just like that. The pigtail is oriented properly. This right here, the pigtail at the bottom of the spring, needs to face the driver's side of the car. Pretty simple. I like to put the bottom in first, kind of get the top up here, kind of where it needs to go. See if I can move this a little bit. The top close. Get up under here, put some weight on the old axle. A little bit more. I'm very close. I brought the jack down more. Hopefully that'll help me have a little bit more room. So I'm gonna have to pull it back out, but I can already tell that it's easier. Okay, so now we try again. So pigtail oriented the right way. The problem, if I didn't say it, the isolator got jammed up and came off. I'm gonna try to go on top first and get the bottom on, which was super easy. That was so easy. Should have done that the first time. Okay, they're in. I'm gonna jack the rear end back up a little bit, put the shocks on. Let's move this camera to not be right where my head is. Come on, go to your home. Sometimes a little bit of a pain, but we got it. Just go wiggle it around. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm at a weird angle because of the camera. Not normal for me, but trying to do it so you guys can see. All right, this is getting close. Very good. And let's put the other side on. Go to your home. There we go. And my bolt is here. Or my nut, sorry. The bolt was already in. I don't even know what I'm doing. All right, guys, outside of putting the wheels back on, this is done, right? Now, I'm gonna turn the camera here so I can see. Right now, this has been recording for 18 minutes. There will be lots of stuff I cut out for the video. We're at 18 and a half minutes. I already had one shock removed. And so yeah, V6 rear springs, beyond easy. I'm done. I just gotta put the wheels back on and put the car down. Like seriously, this is a super easy thing to do with an 18 and a 15. And even when you have the quad shock that you have to remove, just that one side of it down near the axle, it's a 15 as well. So Very easy. The front's tougher, but it's not that bad. That's a big gap. That is a big old gap. But it's okay because we want this car to sit higher for when we do put the three of us in it, stuff in the trunk, and maybe go on a trip or whatever. We don't want to be scraping. So yeah, big gap. This is not what most people would do. This is different. But this is specific to what I want for the car. So it will settle some, maybe ½ inch or so, not a ton. I'd be surprised if it settles even a ½ inch, but this is fine. It's a big gap, but it's fine. So what I'm gonna do also is measure for my paper over there, where I had it at the lowest height. I'm gonna measure right after I change the springs and then drive it around for, honestly, today's Thursday. And I want this video to come out Saturday. So the front spring should be in tonight. I guess I'll have to film that tonight. Drive it and stuff and let it sit tomorrow some. Then tomorrow evening, so Friday evening, remeasure so I can show you guys what these springs did to the car. I honestly think it's gonna look pretty good. It is just a little bit later. I've got the car. The gap is not gonna always be that big. When I put the jack stands here and then lower it down, since the engine's up front, it pulls the rear end up a bit. And so, yeah, that's crazy. But got it on jack stands. Haven't started working on the front yet. Let's go up in here. It's starting to get a little messy. Need to straighten it up again. Here's my springs. My 9901 Cobra 500-pound springs. There's no part numbers on them, unfortunately, so I hope they are what they were advertised as. Not just GT springs or something, but we'll find out when we get them on the car and see how it rides. I'm hoping that they sit a little lower than factory GT height. If they're a ½ inch lower, I'm going to be pretty good with it. But we have the upper and lower isolators. I only have these lower isolators on these right now. And I can take out upper and lowers. If you remove the factory upper and lower insulators, it gets you about 3/8 of an inch of a drop. And so we'll put it all together and see how it is, get it settled. And guys, I'll be honest with you, I'm trying to get this done today. I said, I have to want this to be Saturday's video. Part of that too is if it's not what I need it to be tomorrow on Friday, I'll pull the front end back apart, I'll pull the rear end back apart, whatever I gotta do, and maybe make some cuts and put stuff back together, and we're gonna get this thing sitting right. Again, not low, but you'll see. It'll look good. Now, before I take this apart, I want to show you what has to come off to get the spring out, okay? Caliper's got to come off. Cobra caliper is real easy. I'll show you how to do that. This nut right here has to come off. This nut, then this bracket. There's a little bitty bolt back here. It's a 1/4 inch head on it. That's got to come off for the sensor to come out of the way. Then there's 2 more bolts right back here. You can see the thread sticking out from the bolts. So nuts, there's one of them actually right there. One here, one down here. I think they're 24s, I can't remember. Those got to come out, and then you can knock these bolts out and then lower your A-arm down to release the spring. You can leave the steering hooked up. It does put stuff at a bit of a bind. The ball joint's going to have a lot of side-base pressure on it, but it's not loaded up or anything. It's just hanging over a little bit for a minute or two. So it's not so bad, not a big deal. I'll be able to clean these up and sell them for a decent amount because I've got the rears over there and they're looking pretty good. And I put these on the car. They haven't hardly been run much. So somebody will want them. Maybe I can get $100 out of them or something and recoup some of the cost of springs. But yeah, that's really all that has to happen here. It's not much. It does take a few minutes, but this will be a quick and easy job. So unfortunately, I'm going to point this up at the sun here. That is just about to go behind that tree, and then behind the trees all the way down for the rest of the evening. So I'm about to lose my good sunlight. And so what I think I'm going to do, I think the best bet here is, the best option is to let the sun go down a bit. I'm going to go eat. I've only had a biscuit today. It's 4 in the afternoon, so I'm pretty hungry. So yeah, I think I'm gonna let the sun go down more, and then the camera can better readjust to just the garage lights. Because right now, if the sun starts to go down, the camera will have trouble adjusting. It'll be kind of too dark. So yeah, let's go eat and then come back to this. All right, it's a little bit later in the evening, and we are gonna get this front spring out of here. So, you can see I have 2 jacks. Not everyone has 2 jacks. I bought this one a long time ago, and that one more recently. Since I have them, I use them. So what I'm gonna do, I get this one up close to my control arm, and this will be what I use to get the control arm down. Now the problem I'm running into, and I can see it here, is it's not tall enough. And I've run into that issue before, and that's fine. I'm going to use a block of wood. Not the greatest thing ever. What happened here is that I got my car a little too high, and now the jack won't reach up to the A-arm. All right, now we got some pressure on the A-arm. First thing I'm going to do, 15 millimeter ratchet wrench, put it in loosening mode. I'm doing this with hand tools because not everyone has, air ratchets and powered this and that, so that bug is bothering me. It's gonna be flying around because we're in the light. This guy's almost there. I'm sitting on the stool for now. I won't be when I'm putting it all back together, unfortunately. Okay. This is such an easy job, it's not even funny. There's the bolt, or the nut, sorry. And then I'm gonna pop this top washer off if I can. Can't get it with my hands, so grab a little flat blade. There it is. So it does help, it does benefit to be able to turn the front wheels a little bit. I don't have the keys in the car. I don't have to do it either, but whatever. Let's just keep moving forward. I'm gonna take my little 1/4 inch and put it into loosen mode, and then get this ABS sensor back here. You don't have to do this in any certain order. It just all has to come off. Just as long as you're supporting the A-arm when you take the bolts out of the strut, then you're good. Here's this little guy. It can be a bit of a bear. It's got Loctite on it from the factory. Now sometimes getting this actually out is a pain in the butt because you got to wiggle on it. And so I might actually have to turn the hub a bit so I can see things better. Nope, I got it. Very good. Got some buildup on it, so always good to clean that off because it's a little Hall effect magnet sensor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 24 and my ratchet, 24 millimeter. Don't know if I need the extension yet. I'm going to put it on this little nut here. Then just spin that guy off by hand. Just this little one here. Then the whole ABS sensor back out of the way. All right. So now we need to loosen up the, I'll take this off in a second. Like sometimes I take the caliper off first, and please excuse my yellow paint. I thought that would look cool with the red car, and then we had some brake fluid issue, and it's a bit too bright. I'm gonna change this, but right now I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting these nuts here loose for the strut. All right, now the back started turning. The front side of it, the nut is a 24. The bolt head is a 21. I'm going to go ahead and take this one, almost do it by hand, all the way off. I dropped my wrench. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one all the way off, and then I'll get the other one really loose. We'll get the caliper out of the way, and then go ahead and pop them out. There's one of those. All right, let's see about getting to this next one down here. Are we on it? Good and firm. Sometimes you can crank on stuff with your hand, or you can just kind of tap it like I did there and it'll break loose. This car is a Southern car its whole life, so there's no rust or anything that would make it difficult to do, so very easy to work on. If you've got rust and stuff, it's just going to be more work. It's a little noisy, but that's how things go. It's still a little tight, like there's something in the threads. Maybe the thread's a little dirty. This one I can actually see where there was something in the thread. Some gunk of some sort. I'll be able to do it by hand now. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now, the caliper. Clunk. These are Cobra brakes, which are the same as the Mach 1 and Bullet brakes. I highly recommend them. You know, you can step up to like those Cadillac, but CTS, AT, I don't remember which all the ones. The Cadillac brakes, that is a lot of swept area under the pad. That's great. In my opinion, I can get into anti-lock with these. I don't have overheating problems with these. And if I go to a more swept area, you know, then you're changing your brake bias to be more front brake bias. Then people are having to upgrade to like Taurus or GT500 rear brakes and all kinds of stuff. In my opinion, and I think I'm right, all that's doing is reducing your brake modulation that you have. You're essentially getting a bunch of pressure really quick because you have bigger brakes. But if I can get these to lock up and get into ABS, I don't need any more braking power because I'm already braking as much as the tires can handle. It just takes more pressure at your foot, which is fine. I'm good with Cobra brakes. And one thing I love about Cobra brakes is that I can take them off with this. All right, so let me get back here to where I can see. And we have a little metal clip that I just popped right off, right? And then, if I can get this guy out of here, sometimes it's a little difficult to do. If I can get to where my fingers can grip it, then I can grip it, right? And then sometimes it takes just a little bit of pressure here. And these little clips want to catch sometimes. Let's check this back one. Oh, that's my problem right there. Let me get it pressed up. Or maybe not. My handy dandy little screwdriver again. Press up on the clip a little more than I can do with my fingers. Is that what's going on here? Come on. Come on, little buddy. Okay, that one's over. And then if I can pop this in here, right where I can get under it. Oh, okay, there we go. That one's over. That actually was more difficult than normal. And then this guy will actually sit right there. So how about that, right? Okay, we're almost ready to take this spring out. So I'm going to put a little tension on the arm and then try to get these bolts out. There's one. And the other one, I popped right out with my thumb. That hole falls over out of the way. This ball joint does need to be replaced. The bushing's gone, the car is 100,000 miles, but that's something I'm going to do later. Okay, we are ready. That pop was the sway bar bracket. Okay. So now this guy, some people would still be afraid like, oh no, the spring could still have tension and stuff. Guys, it ain't under hardly any tension at this point. Now, a factory spring is longer and could still be under some tension, but if you've already got it down that far, there's barely anything on it. Don't be afraid of it. That's out. That was it. Uh-oh, okay. Now what I do is I got this other spring here, and I'm going to compare heights. It is taller, and it is stiffer, so the car will sit higher. Can you guys see that? There we go. Let me get them oriented the same way. Yeah, it's taller, and that's good. That's going to be make it a little tougher to go back in, and the car will sit higher, so that's a good thing. That's something we want. So let's get this off of here, and it does not want to come off. Goodness, if I can get in here. There we go. Yeah, it was just stuck. Okay, well now I know how to do it for the other one. Just right here and pop it up. Okay. Yep, that spring was entirely too soft to be that short. I do not recommend the SR touring springs at all. Now, I do want to remind you that this might not work for me that well. You know, I'm trying to do Cobra brakes, or Cobra 9900 Cobra front coils on a car that really wasn't ever meant to have them. They'll fit, right? And this isolator is being a pain in the butt. Okay, popped on there. Whatever. Now I'm leaving the isolators on, and I've said in a different, or earlier in this video, I think, that having them off is a 3/8 of an inch drop. And so I might have to come back in and remove them. I might have to cut half a coil or something. I hope not. I don't want to have to do that. But we'll see. If I put these on and it sits equal to or slightly lower than the front, I'll leave them be. Okay, let's go ahead and put this guy back in. So there's a pocket right here. You want this pigtail to be between the two holes that's there. Not always the easiest thing to line up, but we'll get it. And I think about right there will be good. I'm gonna push this down. We run into a little bit of a problem here, in that my microphone is caught on that the magnet on my microphone got caught there. Okay, so this can be a little bit of a problem. And there's that taller spring issue I was talking about. I want to move this. Come on, go to your home. I wonder if I go ahead and remove that upper isolator, what I can make happen here. I bet I can get it. That was close. Oh. Okay, so without the upper isolator, I was able to just put it right where it needs to go. Okay. Run into a little bit of a problem in that the spring is not all the way down in the perch. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get a bolt in this. There it goes. That's what I was hoping would happen. And that's what happens if your jack's not positioned properly. That's not good. Yeah, I really don't like that. Right now, if I had another one of those bigger jacks, this would not be a problem. So, in my head, that's something I need to invest in. All right, let's do it. I'm gonna have to go up as little as possible. And I'm also, so you guys know, I'm not gonna take both jack stands out. I'm just gonna I'm gonna lower that one over there. I'm not even gonna remove it, okay? I don't wanna be unsafe here. Okay, that spring popped into the perch. I didn't think it was sitting all the way in there. Man, another little bit and it's there. I don't know if it will come down more though. Okay, things are compressing. The car is lowering. So one thing I got to do is, as this is coming back down, I got to get this guy into its home. And it's already a little too low. Okay. Okay, it's there. I don't like what I just did. I was a little under the car. There's still jack stands, but okay, so we're not quite near enough for this yet. Let's bring it down a little bit more. Okay, that's a bolt in. That's a bolt in. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this. And put it on the bottom one. That way, it can't come apart. So actually, I'm going to put this back on and start putting this back together because it's time. One side done. Now I just gotta get the other side. Okay, she's back together. This side went easier because I knew what I was doing. It was still tough to get that spring in there though, so we got it. Ran into this problem. So that caliper's not working properly. That will be a problem for another video. This one, the pads are rubbing just a little bit, but it ain't bad. It will settle some, thank goodness, because it's way higher than it was. It's almost comical right now how high it is. Wow, it's sitting up way high. It will come down. Oh yeah, that's like factory GT height again, but that's okay. Like I said, it hasn't settled any. I'm gonna go ahead and measure and see where we are right now. Okay, so I've done some measurements. It's on my paper down here. We've gone up 5/8 of an inch in the right or the left rear, and 2 1/8 in the left front. This side here. So let's go check the other side and see what those are. Again, they haven't settled at all. This is just fresh down on the ground. It will definitely change. Spot on 28. I can remember that easy enough. And wow, 27 15/16. Okay, so the front, yeah, it went up a little more than 2 inches, 2 1/8 on both sides. That's kind of crazy. So at least they're the same spring. We know that. The rear went up, what I say over here, it went up 13/16 on the right rear. And then on the other side, it went up what I say, 5/8. That's fine. I might pull an isolator or something here and there to level it out once we get it completely, sorted. There's how the car sits right now. It's monster truckish. But yeah, like I've said a million times at this point, I'm probably going to cut most of them out, but let's just fresh on the ground. The front will come down more, and I think it'll actually look pretty good. Now, the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it like this for just a bit. I've got to take care of that caliper, right? That is kind of seized up. Maybe I can compress it some and it'll work again. I'll try that. I might try to rebuild it, or I might just get another one. It's a Cobra caliper. They're not expensive. I want the car to sit half-ish inch lower, maybe 3/4 of an inch lower than a factory V6 or a GT, because they sit about the same height, right? But I know that I put Mach 1 springs on the back, and that's a half-inch drop from a GT on a heavier car. So I'm asking a lot to get a half-inch. If I can get 3/8 out of the rear, that might be good, but then I can go in and remove isolators, right? I'm not going to remove the upper isolators for the rear. I like to leave those because they're right there under the cabin, and I don't want any of that noise coming through. But the bottom ones I can remove, and that would give me a little bit of a drop. The fronts, I'm hoping the front settles some and it looks better. But we'll see. However, I do know, like right now, it's a more usable car than it was a little bit ago. And so that's better. And it has stiffer springs than a factory V6. Just the factory V6 springs are way too soft. So right now the car's more usable. Obviously I got to fix that caliper, and I'm happy with it. Like I'm genuinely happy because like I said, I know it's gonna settle. It's gonna be more what we want out of the car, and I will mess with it and get the ride height right. So I think right now I might need to go pick up my son, wash my hands and probably my face, move some tools out of the way, pop the garage, and then take it over there, and then it'll settle some. I'll measure when I get back from that as well. Wow, that rear tent needs to be redone. Hey, let's look at the stance that we have after driving it around some and settling overnight. Move a stool to get down here lower. I'm not upset with the rear. It's high, right? And I might bring it down a touch. The front's too high. And that's what we kind of worried about with the Cobra springs on the front. Even though they're 500-pound springs, and I drove the car, it actually rides pretty good, okay? And also with the measurements of it settled and everything, I'll break them down here in a minute. But it's kind of level front to rear, which is not horrible. I do like these cars to have a little bit of a rake, though, because when you kind of sit, all people say you like sit really high in these things, but the hood kind of does a bulge up thing in the middle too, right? And so when you're sitting in a car, one of these Mustangs, to me, this is my personal opinion, when you're in one of these Mustangs and it's level, with the hood kind of doing its bulgy thing, it feels nose high. It's not, but it feels it to me. So we got to bring the front down. Again, I think I've said it multiple times in this video. If I haven't, here it is. I don't condone cutting springs. It does make, even linear rate springs, it does make them stiffer. You're getting rid of free coils. However, I bought these springs specifically to cut and mess with, right? Not messing with any of my factory springs. My whole hoard of factory springs up here, which even in that box, there's 4 more springs. Not messing with those. So I'm going to cut these. I'm going to do a half coil. I'm going to take them out, cut them a half coil, put it back down, get it settled and everything, and see how the car looks at that point. And honestly, I might be okay with it at that point. It might be good. And then we might pull the lower rear isolators. I pulled out the 3 other Mustangs, both the blue and green Bullet and the Mach 1. This one's too low. I don't want the red one to sit like that. I want it to sit closer to these two, and they have very similar spring setups. That one has Bullet springs all the way around with no front isolators. This one has Mach 1 springs on the rear with isolators, and then Bullet springs on the front with no front isolators. So the blue Mach here is closer to what I want it to sit like, but I don't want the front to be quite that low, okay? Now here's where it comes into a little bit of a problem. I don't want it to sit as high as it did factory, because I think the Mach 1 sit too high in the front. I think for a Mach 1, this stance is absolutely perfect. It's not too low, all completely stock in the rear, just Bullet springs and no isolators in the front. I think it's perfect. I don't want the red one to sit quite like this, but close. But let's look here. The Mach 27 and 5/16, 27 and 15/16. So as per usual, the cars do sit a little this way, a little down on the driver's side. Both of them do. That one sits a little down in the driver's side. Just in the front, though, I've got the rear leveled with the Maximum Motorsports adjustable control arm, so it's 27 on both sides in the rear. And this is from the ground to the center of the fender lip, right? So the Mach sits 27 and 5/16 and 27 and 15/16 on the side we were looking at. So I'm good with the rear of the red car being at about 28, okay? Because that'd be ever so slightly higher than that side we were just looking at, the right rear. If we go to what it is, we're 27 and 5/8 here, so we're 3/8 inch lower than what I'm okay with, which is actually fine with me. 28 and 1/8. So on the rear, what am I looking at? This is the front. Oh my gosh. Let's look at the rear. So 27 and 15/16. We are 28 and 1/8 and 27 and 3/4 at the rear. Okay, there we go. We're actually looking at the rear, not the front. So I'm fine with the driver's side. It sits perfectly fine for me. Same thing as the front, because it's actually 28 and 1/8 and 28 and 1/8. How about that, right? So I'm going to remove that rear isolator. My thumb's all dirty from working last night. I'm going to remove that isolator on the right side back there. That's not going to take too awful long. And then in the front, let's look at what we want to do to the front. So 26 and a half for the green bullet here and 26 and 7/16. So that's an 1/8 inch off of being the same. And we have 26 and 5/8, 26 and 5/8. So I don't want it quite this low. 27 inches in the front would be fine. We're at 27 and 5/8 and then 28 and 1/8. Okay. And so if I was able to get this side down 5/8 and this side down 1 inch and 1/8, it would be about perfect. Now, what am I going to be able to do? Because we have to cut coils, okay? I don't have to leave the lower isolators in there, but there's water buildup and stuff at the bottom and you get rust. And of course, this car also sits in the garage constantly. So if I just wrap some tape around the bottom, it'd be fine. I don't know what to do. So I do know what to do. I need to cut the coils, right? And I can take the isolators out, and the isolators, the bottom isolators, are going to get me about 1/8 of an inch, okay? It's like 20 minutes later. I've got both front springs out. I'm still trying to figure out what to do and how much to cut. Once you cut, obviously you go small because you can't put it back. I don't know how much to cut. I'm figuring this out. With my little cutoff wheel here, I don't know if you guys can hear me over the air compressor. This wheel's about done for. It's starting to chip apart, but this is taking forever. Anyway, I might go get a new wheel really quick because this is taking longer than it does to take off the dadgum springs. Oh well. As I hit record, I realized I left the sink on in the kitchen. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, here's the front, fresh down on the ground. Haven't drove it, hasn't settled any. Haven't touched that rear isolator yet, okay? I just want to show you guys how it is right now. It's better. It's not low. Remember I said the car was not going to be low. I don't want it low. I want it lower than stock, and I want it slightly lower in the front than the rear, and it's almost perfect, okay? So let's go look at the numbers of what it was before I cut the springs. And also, I want to say I cut a half a coil on this one and just a little more than half a coil on this one, like this much further, okay? I'm not even side to side, but it's closer than it was. I also left the isolators out. I thought, since I'm cutting live springs, it's a linear spring rate, but when you're cutting live springs on a linear spring, you are increasing the spring rate, right? I cut half a coil, and a lot of times that would be 3/4 of an inch-ish, maybe up to an inch. Because I'm cutting live coils, the spring's actually now slightly stiffer. And so it got me, let's just look. In the front, This word right here is fresh. So fresh and then cut spring fresh. And that's just right when it's down on the ground, not settled yet. Let's compare these two. So 27 and 15/16 to 27. So we lost 3/4, or almost an inch, almost a whole inch, more than 3/4. Over here, let's compare these two again. 28.5 to 27.25. So we lost 1.25 inches. That's good. Now I just need to take it for a drive. So what I'm going to do, the rear won't have to compress as much, and there won't be that much of a difference. So I'm going to move whatever I can move to get out of here. Maybe just that one. Maybe I move this stuff here so I can swing around, and should be able to move just that one to get out. Drive it around the block, come back, measure the front again. I'll back in because my jack and everything's on this side, and then I'll remove that one isolator, and then do full end measurements in the video, and hopefully keep my sanity as I try to edit this and figure out all of my goofy ramblings as I'm saying the wrong things half the time. Anyway, I enjoy this. Even though this is tougher, all these things, I'm going to take a picture of this page. I'll probably laminate it and just stick it in a drawer somewhere. And so now I've got like, hey, here's what it all, I've got the Mach 1, the blue bullet, the green bullet, how they sit currently. I've got this car, how it sit on different springs, and I can't find the notes of how it set on its factory springs. That's upsetting, because that had the blue bullet on its factory setup as well. But yeah, so I've got this, and this is all super handy in case we want to change something to the car later. I can go back and be like, hey, well, with these it was this, or with these it was this. I can gain 1/4 in the front by putting the isolators back in. It's good stuff to know. Just pulled that spring out, pulled the bottom isolator off, and put it back in. Here it is. This guy doesn't really compress any. It's a little more than 3/16 of an inch, so approaching 1/4 inch. Not quite 1/4. These cars are crooked, man. This thing's never been in a wreck. This is a labor of love, guys. You really got to like these cars to pull springs out multiple times in a day just to adjust and cut and fix and just right. And okay, guys, we're going to be wrapping up this video. It's close. Okay, I'm going to let it settle out a little bit more, and then I'll make maybe final adjustments if I need to. This corner right here, this guy, is sitting the exact same as the Mach and the green bullet, okay? Which is, like I said a little bit earlier, it's lower than I wanted. The other side's about perfect. If I look up here on my sheet, we came down after that last drive because I just took it for another drive. We're down to 26.5 on the front left, which is a little lower than I want. The passenger side on the front came down from 27.25 to 27. It's perfect. We'll walk around there and look at the other side of the car in just a second. Yes, that other side of the car it's perfect. Okay. Now the rear, we are at 27 and 9/16 on this side here, on the driver's side. The other side, after removing this guy, went from 28 and 1/8 down to 28 exactly. So that is what, 7/16 of an inch off. So it's still about 1/2 inch. Driver's sides of these cars are lower. The back is not super noticeable. The front is noticeable to me. What I will end up doing if the front doesn't settle out more on the other side, I'll put this, we're 1/2 inch different in the front, side to side. So I'll put, let me grab it here. I'll put this guy back in, which will raise this side 1/4 inch, not on both sides, just on the driver's side. It'll raise that 1/4 inch. Coilovers would be easier, wouldn't it? Anyway, it'll raise this 1/2 inch, or 1/4 inch, sorry, and then they'll be 1/4 inch off from each other, which I don't mind that. This is pretty good. Let's walk around here and see the other side of the car. This side is how I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted. Obviously, there's some gap here. There's some gap in the front too, but I don't want it too low. I want the car to sit lower than stock and look a little sporty, right? But a lot of this too is because the tire sits in. I know there's a gap there. There's definitely a gap. But if you had a wider wheel and stuff that set out, it would be more like those out there. Let me zoom in. Like that out there, where it's kind of up in the rear, but it doesn't look as bad because the tire sits further out, right? And that one too. And so, I mean, the ride heights of them, I've got them very similar. I've got this car sitting really, really close to those two cars out there. And so I'm happy with that. I just have that other side over there that needs to either be up a bit or this side needs to settle down a bit. I honestly would prefer, let's spin around so you guys can see me. I would honestly prefer the driver's side to be up a little bit because, like I've talked about before, I don't want any compromises. I don't want to be scraping anything. It's already lower than stock, and so I'm happy with it. It rides good, surprisingly. The front shocks are they're wore out. They're original struts. The rear has newer conies on it, which I think you've seen, but the front still has its stock struts. Those need to get changed along with the lower ball joints. So what I'll do is at some point, I'll get new control arms for the front that have bushings and ball joints already in them, and then I'll get a set of Bilsteins for my Blue Bullet, and then I'll swap the orange conies from that one onto this, because they've only got 1,000 or 2,000 miles on them or something. And I'll put the Bilsteins in the Bullet, and then this one will have new struts too. Guys, I think this is great. I think it's honestly outstanding. I just got to get that one corner right, okay? And as soon as I get that, which unfortunately that's not going to be in this video, as soon as I get that knocked out, this thing will be suspension, not done. Like I said, I still got to do struts and stuff, but the ride height will be perfected forever. That's where we will leave this car. I think it looks really good. I think, honestly, I'm going to show you guys this side again. I think this looks about perfect. Again, I like them low, right? Even my Blue Bullet's lower than all those two out there. I like them low, but this one needs to be something we can throw the cooler in, because the V6 seats are super comfy and they're low and everything. You feel like you've got a lot of room in this car. And so we like to take this one on day trips and do different like outings with this car. And so I don't want it to be compromised in terms of ride height and ride quality and stuff. So I'm loving this. This is about perfect, even though it's, like taller than a lot of people would do. You saw my other video, which I think is called how to pick springs if you're picky, or something like that, or picky guy picking springs, something like that. If you look at my channel, you can find it, where I go into all the math of the weights of these cars versus like a GT Bullet, and the weight distributions and how much weight's on the front end. And this thing, essentially, once I get the shocks done, it will ride just like a factory Bullet. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I've got the merch here, you can see. This one on the back says, "You giving me lip," with a big wheel on it that has a big lip on it, which is funny. I got the retro stuff, and there's more designs coming. I haven't got any sales yet. So if you want to support the channel, hop on there, buy a shirt. I got hats coming soon too. Designs are finalized for some hats. I'm trying to figure out the hat that I want, because the hat my wife uses for her shirts and hats, she has a business where she does this stuff, which is how I know how to do all this stuff anyway, because I helped her get that business going. The hats that she uses, I don't really like the look of them, so I'm trying to find a good trucker hat that is not flat bill, but just a little bit bent and doesn't have the cord and is comfy and all the things. I'm real picky about it because I like it. I like a good hat. You get a little bald, you wear a hat a lot, you got to have the right hat. So we're working on it. Anyway, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Come back for the next one. Probably be driving this one some now.